Good morning, everyone. We're doing another episode of the Saturday Artist Live podcast, or Saturday Artist Live Interview podcast. I can't even get my own name right. But today we have Simon Deville, and I will be inviting him right now. Perfect.
Off to a great start.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No problem, bro. I'm glad that you can join.
Exposure. Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
My name is Simon Deville. I am a traveling painter. That's kind of how I'm seeing myself now.
Mm-hmm.
I take my acrylic artwork out to the general public. I've been given a great start. A gentleman by the name of Denny opened up some doors. One was for Yolks Pack and Save. I fell in love with sitting in front of people and doing what I love doing, and that's painting, acrylic paint. I love doing all sorts of different types, from landscapes are my focus right now. I've also done things of the nature of like graphic work, but then I've also brought in a lot of photorealism, some abstracts. I've tried to do a little art deco, following Arte's work. I'm all over the board, but right now I'm focusing on landscapes.
So what got you into art?
I grew up under the easel. My mother painted. As I was a child, I remember smelling the oil paints and the chemicals she was working with. We're out in the middle of a field and she's sketching out a painting, or at the house where she's doing a vase. She'd bring in old furniture and she'd redo it and sell it for hundreds of dollars compared to the $25 she bought it for. So I kind of grew up around it. And then fortunately for me, I was enabled to go to Europe. My biological father lived over there, and so I went over and spent a couple years with him and got to walk the streets and see artists actually performing their art right there on chalk on the ground. Beautiful mosaics, beautiful violinists, speakers. There's all sorts of juggling acts, and I've actually seen the Monkey and the Grinder and all of that in person live. So I've been heavily influenced by all sorts of different art. I fortunately was able to go to Cornish College of the Arts for a minute and studied interior design and planning. Joined the ASID there, kind of got really involved with the whole ins and outs of how Cornish was working and how design and design philosophy worked. Learned photography then, and lots of different ways to draw interiors and come up with creative interiors. And then, of course, Spokane calls you back, right? Everyone comes back to Spokane at some point. I keep returning, and, well, I found myself doing all sorts of different things until, voila, my wife one day takes me over to a canvas section of an art store and says, "Pick one out, honey. You're going to go back to it." I'm like, okay, because I had been talking about it. She's very much my encourager, so that's how I've gotten back into it. Plus, I have friends like Jairus. I would like to shout out to him because he sure did give me the energy. He knew how to capture my attention around being able to feel I could create, and it really inspired me there as well. I have lots of friends and family that have encouraged me. I'm into it about now 2.5 years, and the first couple Christmases I was flooded with paint. As you can see, lots of brushes. I can't tell you how many packs of brushes or canvases I've received, so yeah. Inspired. Got some art that I just recently did. I just finished this.
Ooh, I like that one. I've really been loving your recent work, and the speed that you go at, though, is just incredible for me. Like, or at least to me, because like I've seen like how like you'll post a progress pic and then like boom, here's what we have next, and it's like holy shit, you already got that much done. And it's just at least for someone that has bad time management such as myself, I love seeing that artists that can actually like crank stuff out really well.
I do have a little bit of a confessional. The recent work that I've been doing as of the beginning of this year has been through tutelage of a very infamous artist. And I'm telling you, he's made all the difference for me, and that's Bob Ross.
Love Bob Ross, man.
Now, in conjunction with Bob Ross, I want to tell you that I've also followed his instructor, the person that he learned his wet-on-wet technique from, and that was William Alexander. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's
I saw he was on the documentary about Bob Ross. Yeah,
that's right. That's
German
one of the ways.
guy.
Yes, exactly. They met in Alaska. And William Alexander took a bunch of artists under his wing, and Bob Ross was one of them. He had a different way of presenting himself. So I've been watching not only William Alexander, but also Bob Ross's students, William Alexander's other students, and just kind of been watching and seeing how each one of them participate in that wet-on-wet technique. One of the things that I'm being challenged for myself that I really put out is, like I said, I grew up under the chemicals. I could smell the chemicals from my mother's oils. I didn't want to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So I found a good challenge for me was to mimic those wet-on-wet techniques from those oil painters in acrylic.
So how do you do that? Because I've tried it, and it frustrated me so much with how quick it dried.
Okay, one of the techniques is to have a spritzer and wet it, but really just glob a lot of really heavy, because they keep saying it, heavy paint first and then light paint, because the wet paint will stick to heavy paint. And they say it all. William Alexander says it, Bob Ross says it, all the other tutor, or everybody that's out there really that's practicing that wet-on-wet technique, heavy first and then the light. And it's really kind of like they also go on a layering technique. So I'm just practicing those layering techniques. Another thing I found is because of the fact that I'm using acrylics, I have to wet it down more. It almost turns into a bit of a gouache, almost like I'm doing a really muddy watercolor. But it kind of helps in mimicking what they're doing with the wet-on-wet technique. It can be done. Really, definitely try it. I do know, and I try to keep myself humble. I make a joke. My wife doesn't like it much, but I say that I take mud, colorful mud, and I push it onto fabric and staple it to sticks. And people are buying it. And I don't understand why.
It's essentially what it is, though.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've fallen in love with like the gypsy philosophy, the gypsy lifestyle. And I knew since Denny opened those doors for me at Yolks and at the others where I can paint in front of people. I've been a bingo caller. I've been a sales representative on a telesales floor. I've done all sorts of things, bartending. This is the one thing that allows me to interact with everybody on a level that's very close to my heart and very positive. I can't tell you how many people that have shared their stories about their family member, their wife, their sister that's been an artist, or how they miss seeing the art around their house, or in some cases they've got so much art they don't know what to do with. In most cases, when I get somebody comes up and says, well, I'm unable to do art, I always tell them, well, no worries, I've got your back.
Right? For real.
Yeah.
Everybody has different creative avenues, and that's why I work here. The painters are here to be able to do it for the people that don't want to either have to do it or don't feel like they can. I think everybody can be creative, but not every avenue is right for people. Right. I like music a lot, but I've kind of turned away from music and more into painting because I've always drawn. I didn't always paint, but I've always had some kind of visual medium, and then music came in way later. But then I've returned to painting because it just fits me better, And that's what I think. It's just
you harmonize better with that. Okay. Yeah,
so what are
I've
some
seen
artists
some of your
that
work.
influenced you? Oh, thank you.
Who's influenced? Well, I wanted to let you know I've looked at some of your work. I'm really impressed. I do love the fact that you're using a lot of the light and dark. I'm really fascinated with seeing how people handle their lighting. That's really important to me. Who are my influencers? I probably would say Erte. I really love Erte's work, the lineage. That I love Miles van der Rohe. I also love Gaudi. But those are a lot of my design influences and how I feel about my design philosophies. I mean, Gaudi's church there in Spain, his diagrams and his math and everything has already still been laid out for everything. They're still working on it. And they've run out of the original sand that they were working on to do the facade, so they had to switch. So if you go see the actual church itself, it's changed colors. He did the Paris subway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that Art Deco, Art Nouveau movement. He was part of the Art Nouveau movement, which took took Arte's very rigid designs and line philosophy and changed it over into a more fluid and organic type of philosophy. And that's where Art Deco changes it to Art Nouveau. And all the subways during the 20s, Art Nouveau was really big, and they redid the subways. So if you look and you see the underground Paris subway, that's Art Nouveau. That's all design philosophy. That really, like, right now what I do for, if I get a few minutes of time, I'll go to YouTube and I'll actually watch Walking the Streets of Paris, just to kind of get that whole European vibe going and feel that out. I love the whole sections to where they go around to where the art is at and where they're going through all the artists, and I just watch how they're doing their things. A lot of what they're doing is profiles. People come sit down. There was somebody that was doing it at the function that Denny set up there on Monroe. There was someone that was doing caricatures. There's a lot of that going on in Paris. So, and then there's some scenic, and then there's some abstract. So it's like, it's really beautiful just to kind of like catch yourself into that European flow. I think that's where I'm headed. That's kind of my influence, is because I grew up, my mother's German. She's very driven. She still has 3 businesses and she's past retirement. I know.
Damn.
One of them's a German bakery. One of them's German bakery is beautiful. Yeah, she's really been supportive too. Definitely. She's enabled me to have my ride so I can get out there and get my paintings mobile. She's pushed brushes into my pocket as I've left her shop. Hermina's Old World Lebkuchen. Yeah. Matzapanlove.com. She's a sponsor. Definitely a sponsor of mine. That's one of the things, is that I think that's a huge influence for me, or it is not just the fact that I love it, but that everybody around me seems to really push me forward and encourages me and are very supportive of me. My in-laws, Chris and Donna, they've been fundamental in making sure that I've been able to get things going, and they've been a huge drive. We just had a little bit of a hiccup with our car, and he was fundamental in making sure that we got it running again. So, like GTG, that's Green Tech Garage. He owns that, so him and my brother-in-law, they made sure that we're able to be mobile. Though my wife, Nicolette, I'll tell you, it was a crucial moment where our car went down, and she, with her tenacity, she kept it going and made sure that the car was running again. So we've done everything we can to keep our show going. I've swapped paintings for tires. That gentleman was happy. He said he gave it to his wife. His wife definitely loved it, so helping to keep romance alive. One tire at a time. But yeah, now my focus, now that we've got the ride taken care of, and all that's, thank you, Nicolette, all that is definitely happening. We're going to go, I started out at Yokes. Like I said, Denny opened that door. He also, Denny Carmen and Chrysalis, it's Chrysalis, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chrysalis gallery that he just opened. He's kind of like, I really kind of, for me, he's Spokane's art ambassador.
Agreed.
He opened up the doors in a way that I don't think there's very many individuals out there that first would have the inclination to. And then second, have the possibilities of doing so. He's opened up, like I said, the Art of Monroe. He opened Yokes. But then he opened up the idea of, hey, look, these aren't the only avenues that you can go. He said, you've got Facebook. He showed me directions that I can go in Facebook to help sales. He showed me how he did it when he had started Yokes. And it said there's lots of opportunities out there. So with that in mind, I went to a Harvest Food, and here's my manager's number. So we're kind of going into negotiations to get me into Harvest Food as well. Just sit down, little table, little paintbrush, some paint, just whip out one of those Bob Ross specials that I'm learning how to do, and get a name out there. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah, it's super important to have a support system like that. And I think Denny Carmen is the person in Spokane to talk to about, like, if you need someone that can introduce you to the right people and kind of send you point you in the direction and be like, here, this is the path you got to walk. He's the person to talk to.
Agreed. Very much agreed. He's got the connections, but he's also got that kind of that harmony about him. He's got a vibe to him. It and just puts everybody at ease and gets everybody, gets everybody going. And it's very positive. I like his positive outlook. Well, I'm very thankful that he's got the gallery. That's good, I saw that he's picking up the brush. That's awesome. That's awesome to see. I've noticed that he's got his work on some of the Spokane. What are those boxes? The Spokane boxes. He got his the butterfly on that. He's like, yeah, great man to know, Denny Carmen. Oh, Denny Carmen.
Yeah, for real.
For sure. Yep.
I can't wait to have him on the podcast. It's gonna happen eventually, but
good.
With scheduling, it's just so.
Well, he's busy.
Hectic.
Yeah,
he is busy.
That's like trying to nail down a politician at election time.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen. But yeah, it's a.
So I'm
definitely now I'm looking
Oh.
forward to getting out there. That's my main drive. I want to get out there, get mobile, and get in front of people.
Mm-hmm. What, from your interior design, did you bring any of that kind of knowledge back to what you're doing now? Is your interior design knowledge influencing your painting?
I'm sure to a degree, but I do need to be honest. It's been, like, full disclosure, it's been quite a few years since I went to Cornish. So, and like I said, I've been through several different career paths since then. A care provider, like I said, I was a bartender, I've been at a call center, I've worked at different locations for different types of jobs, so a lot has been lost. But as I'm learning again, I'm picking up on some of those older lessons and some of the things that I did learn at that time. I'm also putting together like some of the design philosophies that I got from then with my painting. I know that they're working together. Just right now, I'm pretty much relearning everything and kind of starting from scratch. But I think I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm hanging in there.
I think you're doing great.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling I might be on the right path. When I love this story. I hung my brand new painting up at Yokes and put it up on the wall, and a gentleman sitting right there goes, "How much you want for that?" And I said, $85. He goes, "Okay." So then I had another customer that had already purchased another come in and go, "How much for that?" I'm like, "Sorry, it's already been sold." So that right there tells me I'm headed down the right path. The support is unwavering. I've had this. It just gets more and more as I go along. So I can't help but do more, want more. I can't stop thinking about painting now. But
the universe has ways of kind of directing you and putting you in places like, okay, this is all you can do now. This is like, the signs are there, man. All you got to do is just go.
It does, and I'm very thankful for it. And all the people that have participated in that to bring me to where I'm at is just amazing. So many come out of the woodwork that I didn't even expect, or that have been friends of mine for years, but we've just lost contact and we haven't. And all of a sudden they're there cheering me on. It's like that kind of dynamic only just builds. It just builds. I know one day Nicolette and I are going to kiss under the Eiffel Tower. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And somehow, some way, we're going to get over there. We've got all of our COVID shots and everything, so that's clear. So next step, the passports, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got some work ahead, but work I love. I've got some works I'm going to be sending off to some galleries to kind of hopefully get somewhere there. I'm working with Gargoyles Sanctuary over in or Statuary over in Seattle. They're more of a little bit of a darker art. I love doing gargoyles, like the one on Notre Dame. I have a gargoyle on a platter that I've done there. That's one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to send that to the gargoyles over in Seattle, and see if we can't start some sort of an exchange. And definitely start getting some artwork sold in Seattle, because I know that's where it's going to be really profitable for me.
Yeah.
I was one of the inspirations was Nicolette and I were taking a train trip, and we ended up stopping off in Seattle, and we had a few hours layover, so we decided to pack a little backpack and head downtown, and we happened upon this studio. It was an acrylic artist. I can't recall his name. I was just so excited and fanatic about the whole thing, but it was his studio and his studio alone. All of his works were up, and one of his works on the wall was of downtown Seattle. It was immaculate. Every part you would think was in there. It was all done in his style, very graphic, very beautiful. And then I saw down below that it was done in acrylic. So here it is, this huge artist that's successful in his own right with his own name, his own brand, and he's got his own studio right there in Seattle. $25,000 for that painting.
Woo!
Okay. Yeah. That got me jazzed. It got me thinking that Nicolette and I have been working diligently for the last decade to figure out how to be together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and work, be productive, and be mobile, be wherever we want. And through different careers and different things, everything from moving furniture to horse sitting to all sorts of stuff, we have found that our strengths are, mine is painting and hers is coding. And she can code. She knows how to read several different languages, JavaScript. She's into all the different back-end, front-end designs, user interfaces. She actually designed my website, simondeville.com.
Nice.
Yep, I'm fortunate in-house. She works on the left side of the brain, and I work on the right side.
Perfect combination.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. And so what we're trying to do is figure out the exact way to do it, and I think this is the combo pack that we've come across, is that our last show that we were at, which was the Lumen High School show, we actually we were in amongst other artists, and Nicolette picked up another artist's website. And so we've hit on the formula that if we're out in the public, that we can basically sell my paintings and her website services. And so we've finally come to a balance that really gets us to work, gets us productive, and keeps us mobile. We can do that wherever we're at. So we actually are trying to set up a studio area in Spokane just to get us going, so we have a home studio to base it out of. We still love the idea of being mobile and going out and about. The thing was that we put in an application for Hive.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-month application for studio space there. They allow you to use the space. It's a section of the library. Have you heard of the Hive?
I've driven past it, but
Okay.
I never knew what it was.
It's fun. Denny, another Denny exclusive. Well, not exclusive, but a Denny pointer. He pointed us to the Hive. There was also my mother-in-law pointed us to the Hive. A friend Doreen pointed us to the Hive. There was several people that were saying check out the Hive. So finally we did. When your mother-in-law says something. So I logged in, and we both discovered that the application was very extensive. But essentially what they do is they offer studio spaces on a monthly basis for free, where you actually go down and use the space. But there are some 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 constrictions that they ask for. They ask for you to actually give back to the hive, which means that you would do open studio space, or that you would, I think once a month you have to actually do some sort of educational training or something of that nature. Since I'm the creative one and I don't have a problem being in front of a camera, I would probably do that. So we're kind of like hoping for that to happen. But that's a Spokane. Mark Pond is another resource for artists and for the Hive and any business owners in Spokane. And Mark Pond is a resource gentleman down at the library. I kind of call him the Captain Library because he knows his ship. He definitely knows what's going on there. But yeah, so if you get a chance, I mean, you'd be eligible for that too, especially with your podcasts. You go down there, use studio space, and kind of they have sinks and refrigerators and everything right there in your studio. So the different size studios, some they share. There's some shares studios down there too. Really good system. Library giving back.
I'm definitely gonna have to check out that place.
Mm-hmm.
So as someone that's already gone through kind of like the initial blast off of being an artist, what advice would you give to other artists that want to kind of start out? They've only been doing it for hobby, but they want to make it more.
Well, of course, drive. You cannot lay down. You can't relax. There's no time for that. You don't have time for that. Star Belladina Ryan. I admire her work.
Me too.
The way she goes about it, she's got that. She has that drive. Anytime that you're at a show, or anytime that I'm in a show, I will search out the most professional looking artist, and I will ask them just that. What's it going to take? Some of them will give me direct feedback on my artwork, which I absolutely adore because that only makes me better, right? But others will tell you that it has to be a tenacity. There has to be some sort of inner drive to do it. That, coupled with your support. If you do not have a strong support system or people that believe in what you're doing or encourage you in what you're doing, you're going to, and that cannot just be like friends and family that are near. Like what Denny is building is that art community that can support, like what you're doing right now is building that art community that supports each artist. Go to those individuals, like Mad Lab Studios.
Mm-hmm. They're my favorite people.
Okay. I felt like stepping in there was like, oh, how did I describe it? It was like walking into Andy Warhol's factory.
I like that. That's a great description.
From Beatles, Yellow Submarine paraphernalia strewn across the floor to beautiful scenic framed artwork on the wall to creative masks being developed for movies out of California to pottery wheels. There wasn't anything that she didn't have under that roof that didn't make that place like a factory. That place is a factory. Plus, isn't that building a factory? What was that building?
I believe it used to house like old trains or parts or something like that, because it's right next to the tracks, and they would like put the older, I don't know what they call them.
Cars?
Yeah, cars. They put the older cars in there.
Okay, that makes sense, because that place is
right.
It's only limited by her and everyone else's imagination.
Yeah, that place is freaking huge, and they're constantly doing things to it.
And when we first met her, we went down to meet Denny, and when we first met her, she couldn't help but hug us. I mean, that's the kind of person that she is. She couldn't, and then she's like, "Come down, do art." She like the outside. I was thinking, do some arrows for parking, and she needs help. She needs artists definitely down there. That's for sure. It's
hard to get consistent help though.
Yeah. Well, let this be a shout out.
Yes.
Anybody watching this, definitely.
Yeah, check out Madco Labs.
Madco Labs, that's what it is. Yep. Madco Labs.
Yeah, they really helped me when I've all I was really doing is like I was just painting at home, and then my fiance told me, he's like, hey, you should kind of show these around some galleries. I called a couple places. I didn't like the place, and they're like, you have to we'll have to charge you like $50 to $100 to enter, and then we might not even accept your thing. And it's like, you're too pretentious. My art is not going to fit well with you. And then I just called Morgan one day on lunch from when I was working at Amazon, and I was like, hey, so can I bring art to you guys? Do you take submissions? She's like, yeah. And so like I just showed up like a couple of months later, and then I was like, here's some of my stuff, and they're like, oh, awesome, come on in, we'll show you all the stuff, we'll hang up your things, and they loved my stuff immediately, and they were just so supportive and just energetic.
Exactly.
Morgan Anthony, or just 10 out of 10 top tier people.
Yep, I agree. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if anybody gets a chance to go down there, highly recommend it. They sell the art too, right? The art that's on the wall?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. If you're looking for a really real Spokane gallery, that right there, you could spend all day and still be wanting more. Yeah, definitely. That place is like the factory for it. Mad collab.
I think of it as like a cultural magnet. At least like that's how it seems to be becoming. Because like there's always new things happening, more people coming in.
And you know the funny thing was, we Nicolette and I, it was brand new to us. We hadn't heard anything about it, and she has been diligently on the press. She's been in the news, but for some reason, some of those things just don't click until you're at the right time in the right place. You know? Definitely. And isn't it funny, Denny?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy. He's the guy. If you want to know a guy, that's the guy.
What's your favorite part about painting and making art?
Probably the inspiration that it creates. Probably the reactions from people. I'm a Leo. I love reactions, so yeah, I definitely like that attention. So having that paintings get that kind of attention and see the and me being able to work, like I said, my mother's German, so I have to do something. I can't sit around. I have to be able to function. So this was really enables me to function as much as I want. I mean, I can either watch a Bob Ross and paint, or watch a movie and paint, or
that's what I do.
Talk and paint, or listen to music and paint. I can be productive as much as I need to be, you know, and it's something that people enjoy. It's something that people react positively to. I really like that. I like giving back in a positive way. I like good vibes. Just good vibes are good to have, you know, getting those out there and having people. Like I had one customer, I was at Yokes and I'm painting away, and he comes over and I had to turn around for something. He grabs my brush. He goes, "I help you, yeah?" Okay, come on in. He's like, "No, I mess it up." It's funny stuff like that, interacting with people, that makes all the difference, and getting that energy out there, that positive energy. You can see it. Like I walk the Art of Monroe show, and you can see when people are engaged with their art, when they love their art, when they're doing stuff, and when they want you to be engaged with it. It's like that character guy. You see he was loving while he was doing that. There was a print. There was a couple gentlemen there with some prints. You could tell they were proud about their work. They really felt that their work was, and then you look at it and it falls right in line with their perception. Their lines are perfect. Their framing's perfect. They're very professional. Anybody who's got an architectural firm would absolutely adore to get their artwork. And there's all this, there was a gentleman there that had everything. I can't remember what his name is. He had everything painted, from chairs to paintings to okay, all the same. You could tell he loved what he did.
Yeah.
Look at my stuff. Look at my stuff. You know, like, yes, that energy. I think that's what gets me going. Plus, I like the gypsy lifestyle and that romanticism, gypsy violins, and the romance around painting. I love that whole philosophy and just the way it feels. And like I said, I had a lot of exposure in Europe to live artists. And so I really got the sense of what that brings, and it's a certain amount of culture. Like I said, my mom has a little German bakery, and you can tell that there's a lot of people that hunger for that authentic Italian, German. That well, people also they hunger for artwork. Look at how successful Art on the Green is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good fine art, you know, and so now I see myself, thanks to Denny and thanks to all the other support that I have and the encouragement from Nicolette, I can see myself out in public recreating that vibe. You know, I know there's a lot of different cultures here in Spokane, and I know this is a great place to get a start doing that and building my brand in being a mobile painter and entertaining individuals. I literally have a top hat.
I love it. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite little kind of like flares that you have. Is just because I've always wanted to have, I'm a very big on hats. I'm a hat person. And so like I saw it, yeah, I love it. And I was just like, oh, this is perfect.
You can't help but love a hat.
Yeah.
From a haberdashery or otherwise, you know. I have blanks and helmets and caps. I'm a fanatic. So, but I put the top hat out. Usually I'll do it for a drawing. I found that it's really successful to get a good, strong email blast list for artists that are out there by doing a giveaway, and the entry would be contact information. I kind of learned that trick from a friend of mine that used to do tours with the company Rings and Things. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Well, she used to take, it's a local outfit that sells gemstones and beading paraphernalia. They have a warehouse. Yep, it's Rings and Things. They started out downtown, but I'm not sure where they're at now. And she used to go on shows, and she'd haul their gemstones around. And the way they got their contact list was through doing drawings for freebies. And so what I did was, the first one that I did was for a Hot Wheels logo that I'd painted. I called it 1990s logo. And I did a drawing, put the top hat out, and I got about 45 names of people that wanted to be included in the drawing, and that were aware that I was going to be contacting them further for other contests and otherwise. So I would tell anybody, anytime that you register for my website, you register for any contest that I have going. Like this was a contest win from a little coffee clutch that I do. I just said that if you post a picture of your mug in a mug, with a mug, like a coffee cup, that on our Facebook group, that you'll be entered to win that, and Lori won that. So I put up the Hot Wheels logo. I got names into the hat. It's a great way to get names for if you want to contact people later. Hey, look, I am going to be at this show. Come on down. I have another drawing, and then that gives them an opportunity to be aware that you're at a show. So if they like your art, they can come down. They can take a look at your art and say, I'd like to buy that, or possibly just come for the drawing itself.
Yeah, because if someone missed, like, oh man, I didn't get the last one, but I really would want to know if there's another one, they immediately like, oh, perfect, I'm going to go there, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to do the thing. And they'll bring other people too. Exactly.
I mean, you have to think, like, it's advertising.
Yeah.
That's advertisement. You know, it's just like the same with any of your social medias. Like, you've got to work your Facebook. I found TikTok actually has gotten me some feedback on possible sales. So I'm learning how to work that correctly. I have achieved the 1,000 followers that's required. Yes, I just don't know what live I'm going to do now. that was a little faster than I expected, which is a good thing. You know, success is a good thing. So I'm going to do a live on that. But then make sure that, like, this podcast gets a link so you'll get exposure there. And I think that really networking is huge, especially for an artist's budget. You know?
Because especially, at least for the situation I'm in, I don't know what happened, but last year around March, Facebook disabled my advertising account. They didn't email me what was the issue. They wouldn't let me change anything, and and then I did some research, and the biggest problem is that I can't talk to anyone live. There's no real person to talk to, so whenever I submit something, it just goes through the algorithm again, and then sends me back into being disabled.
Does that make you have to start a brand new Facebook account?
If I do that, they'll automatically shut that down too, and then permanently anything I do, they won't let me do anything. So I'm having to do kind of like you're saying, actual real life networking to get advertising, because I have to go full organic. I can't just rely on paying for advertising anymore. Because also, I tried putting some stuff on Etsy, and they suspended me. I put on one post. It's just my Carl Jung painting, and then they said it went against further.
Don't put it on now.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, the last thing I needed to get is banned from frickin' Instagram. Yeah. But like, I put it on just one painting, just because I'm learning how to use the app, and the next day I was suspended, and so I'm just like, you know what? Besides the stuff I'm doing with this, like, I'm just kind of backing away from the internet reliance and trying to do, like, as you're saying, like, real life networking with people. Like, so that's why I really like the podcast, because I can contact real life artists that can give me advice, that I can hear from, and get that support system for me and other people as well.
Right.
And that's what I think is really important, like you're talking about.
I think by you doing what you're doing, and by Morgan doing what she's doing, and Denny's doing what he's doing, and me doing what I'm doing, by being the live painter out there and kind of spreading, well, you have to talk to Denny if you want it, that kind of thing, or, you know, look, I know that it takes a community, and you've really got to lean on each other, and networking is key to that. I carry with me, I know I've gone to, unfortunately, I've gone to Walmart. I've only got so much fiscal strength. I can only lift so much, so sometimes I have to rely on the big box, and I got a pack of those business cards that you put through your printer.
Oh! I didn't know you could get one of those. Yeah,
and you find out what printer you have, and they have actual, if you go online, you can go, I can't remember what the Staples or, no, I can't, 3M or something like that. Anyway, you can get where you put it through your printer, it prints it out, and then you have to manually separate each business card up. They're kind of cut, but they stick together, and it get you out there. Now, because you're handing them out, you're making face-to-face contact. There isn't anybody that I won't hand a card to, because the way I look at it, everybody is a customer. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a customer. That's the way you have to look at it. So when you're engaging with someone, you have to be very on point. You have to make sure that you're talking about your art. You're spreading the word about your art. Like my mom says, you have to get the word out. You really do have to get the word out. You know, I know that part of that is by handing your business card out. I grew up putting, it was back before a lot of internet. I would put flyers on windshields, you know.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Hang things on door handles for my mom's little tailor shop. So I remember canvassing is what they call that. When you're out there shopping at the grocery store, or you're getting paint supplies at whatever paint supply store that you use, make sure to hand your business card over, because that gets your name and your brand out there. If you intend on selling your product, which is whatever art you're doing, you have to network. You have to get your name out there. For your podcast to be successful, I'm sure you've had to tell quite a few people about it.
Yeah.
You've had to spread the word. Yeah. That's part of the job. Like 30% of my job is making the art.
I think that's also something people don't realize when they're starting out. It's you don't just create. That would be the dream, to just be. There's no longer the Renaissance. Okay, you just go paint this wall for the next year, and we'll pay for everything for you. It's like, no, you got to network yourself. You got to get out there. It's a salesman job now, to where you have to be able to have the skills of marketing as well as the skills of, so you have to be left and right brain at the same time.
And find your product.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, when I first started, if you look at my earlier works, I was heavily leaning towards abstracts. You know, I definitely love Picasso and I love Matisse. I mean, just all that kind of real whimsical. I love the Gilded Age. I love Klimt. I love all sorts of very beautiful artwork. But unfortunately, I have an electric bill, or I have this bill, or I have to pay my car insurance, or I have whatever it is that's going to take it. Find what you do and sell that. Sell the heck out of it. I found that after working under Bob Ross's tutelage and William Alexander's tutelage, that I have the capability of replicating that work. I know that that's not a skill that everybody has. One time I was purchasing some canvases at an art store, and I was touting Bob Ross. And the lady behind the counter says, "Honey, I tried Bob Ross. I couldn't keep up with him. I don't know how you do." So I know there's a certain talent and a certain skill set that's required. That's my product.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sell the heck out of it. You know, that's what you got to do. You find what you're good at, you get excited about it, and you get others excited about it, and you sell it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is. So the 70% of my work is like talking to Ezekiel, is getting on Facebook telling, "Hey, look, I just painted this. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I'm gonna put a waterfall in it. That one didn't come out so well, but I learned a lot about." Oh, well, thank you. There's some things I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go back in and work it again. But that's the wonderful part about it. It's like I can learn as I go. You know, that's the great part of this profession. I learn about myself and learn about others, and really have that human exchange that's so important for everyone that, you know, is social. Not everybody's social. There's some artists out there. There is no, in front of what? At a grocery where? No, honey. No. They're not going to do that. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've done singing telegrams.
Yeah.
No shame. There's no shame in my game. I'm good. I'll sit down and paint a Bob Ross or paint an abstract. Or I just got a commission the night before last. I do a commission work where if you have anything, and this gentleman wanted me to paint a plate of watermelon.
Oh yeah, I saw the photo for that.
Okay, I painted sheep, a sheep called Elvis. I'm in. Let's do this. So next week I start that project. You know, I love painting. I love what it does. I love the fact that the last commission that I did a commission for a gentleman that was basically, his name's Ryan. He had a photograph of a dock that him and his grandfather would fish off of, and he asked me to replicate that in acrylic. And so I jumped on that. I painted that up for him and handed it over to him. His reaction was, "Wow!" Hey, you get that, you know, that right there is probably the biggest inspiration. You know, knowing that moment, he's probably going to give it to his grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Is probably where it's headed. I had one person that bought a waterfall, says my grandma's going to love it. You know, so I know that's a connection builder. You know, that like builds those relationships within. And I had some good vibe part of that. You know, that's a drive. That really makes me happy. Like the gentleman the kid that won the Hot Wheels, him and his dad, it was the cutest thing. Nicolette said that him and his dad were kind of like wrestling over it at the exit as they were taking it home from winning it. That's like, oh, okay, hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I'd like to see, you know? People being happy through art, especially art that I create. Yeah. That's a drive of mine. So wear a heart on my sleeve. Yeah.
I find that a lot with artists, even the ones that are introverted, they still have that, like, their emotions are on their surface. Like, you don't have to, like, try to, like, penetrate super deep to find out what's, you know, in their heart. A lot of artists, they're already, because of art, they are self-expressive, and they're all about connecting people with their emotions of, like, that's one of the things that I love about art is its communication. to me. It's like either it's a communication in the form of a gift. Someone bought something because it made them think of, like their grandfather or their grandmother, and it's just so it creates like more relationships. And then as well as just the symbolism in the art itself, it's like speaks to you, like speaks to the audience.
Yes.
From the artist through this kind of this weird medium. It's non-verbal,
right?
But people still understand what's being said most of the time.
That's one of the big things that I learned at Cornish was about how communication and art are hand in hand. There were 3 levels at Cornish, or 3 floors at Cornish. The top floor was specifically designated for artists and fine artists. The second floor was for design and the design students, and that included graphic design as well as interior design and furniture design. And then the lower floor was the library and the theater students, because those were fundamental communicational parts of art. Another department, unfortunately, the building at the time when I was going there was unable to house was the dance department, because dance is also in music. The music department wasn't able to be all squashed into that one building. Since then, they've moved apparently downtown. Cornish has, and they've eliminated the interior design department, which I know times change.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm not doing that anymore anyway. But the drive is still the same. The name is still the same. They still draw that kind of. But one of the biggest things that they talked about was communication, and how what you're doing is communicating. Whether you, for instance, are looking to sell a painting, you being there is going to change whether or not how much of that dynamic is going to be presented. You're going to increase that sale. You're going to increase the possibilities depending on how you present yourself. And also the art itself has to sell, But all that's all communication. The whole thing is how you present it. It's in presentation. That oddly was one of my things that I had to work on a lot there. I was really good in front of a crowd presenting my designs. I had lots of interesting designs and very ingenuitive. Was very I like to come up with ideas as much as I possibly can, so that really hit that, and I could present them. So I was headed down the road of really being a good presentation specialist for designs, but my actual cutting and getting it all ready to go was still in progress. So as I was there, they had a real interesting way of handling your progress. They would have you do all of your year's work, lay it out in a room, and then you would leave the room, and all of your instructors, it was a very close-knit 12 instructors, would go through your art and discuss your art with you, or discuss their art or your art with them. And then they would pull you into the room and have you present each piece. And then they would dismiss you, and then they would talk amongst themselves.
Interesting. I kind of like that process.
Or they wanted to kind of figure out where you were professionally, I think. I can only surmise what they were doing because I wasn't an instructor. But then once they kind of got a layout of the land, then they had you walk through it, and then they talked about it. I know that one of the things was presentation. That was really important for them because that was a section of the transition interview that you'd have to go through to transition into your next year. My first year, they actually they pick one of the instructors to kind of talk to you about what they found. And my instructor said, Simon, you have such great work, and you present yourself really eloquently, and we love everything that you're doing. It's just there's one thing that we found that you might want to watch a little bit. And I'm like, what's that? Well, you laugh at very odd times. I'm like, okay, if that's the worst you can come up with, I think I can handle that. I got a sense of humor. It's a little odd. I'm into gypsies and violins. What do you do?
For real.
My dad's from Chicago. What do you do?
I also have that problem with inappropriate laughter, especially when someone tells me not to laugh, or there's like if you're a stance where someone gives you like kind of a nudge and you're like,
then it's the worst. Yes. Or the giggles. You're in a situation you should not be giggling, and that's when it comes up. Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't help it. Yep.
I've been at there was a wedding I was at a long time ago where the preacher, he only messed up one word, but it just sent me I just couldn't stop. I was like trying to hold it in, and then he said something else that just with a weird intonation, I just busted up laughing at the wedding, just because dead silence, it's echoing everywhere, and I was like,
at a wedding?
Yeah, just because like
there you go.
The way the guy who was doing it, like, not pretentious, but he was just trying to put too much. He was trying to make it too serious, and then it just, when he fucked up, it's so fucking hilarious. It was great.
That is awesome. Well, if you're gonna call yourself out, that's one way to do it.
Right. But I think it's. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to check out the time on this thing. Oh, okay, so we got another couple minutes. Why don't you let everyone know where to find you, how to contact you, all your socials and everything.
You definitely can contact me through simondeville.com. That's probably the easiest route to go. If you go to simondeville.com, you'll find my link tree that has all my socials, everything from my TikTok to my Facebook to my Instagram to my, what else do I have? I mean, you really have to put yourself out there. I have LinkedIn. I'm, of course, on UHive, which is an international platform that I'm trying to get into UK through that, so that way I can, sell a painting. If you've got a skill, there's everybody out there is making soup. What's so special about your soup? Mm-hmm. Get out there, sell your soup. Get it going, Make sure your art's out there, whatever you do. So simondeville.com is the best way to get a hold of my art. I do landscapes. As I told you, I'm painting a watermelon, so I'll do commissions of any sort. I don't have a problem with that.
Any price range that you kind of work within so people can know what to expect?
What's that?
Any price range for your commissions so people know what to kind of expect?
Of course. I usually start my commissions out at $125. That gets me going depending on what you're looking for and the size. And that's like a 9 by 12 or something like that. Maybe even 11 by 14 if it isn't too complicated. But the bigger that you get, the more I'm going to have to navigate through your photograph or your image or your description. I can paint by description. It's not going to be exactly what you're looking for, but it'll be exactly what you described to me as. So I'm able to facilitate that. Just depends on how big you want it to be. Like, I also barter. Like I said, I went to my the one Art on Monroe show, and I didn't have any way to present my art, and I lined myself up with a farmer that wanted a sheep painting. He had a favorite sheep. It was Elvis, and he commissioned a 24 by 16 portrait of Elvis, his sheep. I photo rendered. I did the whole thing as best I could, and he swapped out for 8 4x8 metal panels that I just zip tie together now, and I hang my artwork off of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're presenting yourself, those opportunities will show up if you allow them. Yeah. simondeville.com. Seriously, you register for my site. You become entered into any contest that I have going on at that time. I have one coming up, so we're definitely going to be...
I'm definitely entering that.
Good, yes. I'm probably going to do a landscape. I think that's what's the big hula everybody's making about right now. So I'm going to make sure I stick around to the landscapes. Probably with a waterfall, because a lot of people like that reflective water.
Water, for me, is just... it's so hard, because I can see it in my head, And I know, like, I've watched some Bob Ross stuff, so I know some of the techniques to do it, but I need to practice it a lot more because it's just frustrating at times.
That right there, that's probably a good 30% of my time, or yeah, good when that doing that art. That's practice, 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 practice. Now that I know what my formula is on how to get my lighting down, my trees down, I understand how to do my reflections in water. I know how to make running water, active water. I'm always looking for new ways to do clouds. It's all practice. Just keep practicing and being open to critique. Just because someone says something negative about my work does not mean that I have gone south or that they hate me or take it personally or none of that.
Yeah.
That just means that they are telling me what I need to do to make that painting better.
Yes. Well, there's two types of criticism. There's constructive criticism from like people that know what they're talking about, and then there's just always some random Joe showing, I don't like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you just ignore those people.
Yeah.
You listen to the people that are telling you, here's an idea of what to do. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. And so, yeah, I listen very open-mindedly to suggestions and innovation, and if it doesn't fit the puzzle, then I'll just go, okay, that piece doesn't fit. I won't go, oh my God, they hate me. You know, none of that.
Yeah.
That's not the direction you want to go. If it fits, if you can see what they're saying and it fits for your technique or your perspective of how you're trying to, like you said, communicate, if it isn't going to fit that, just don't apply it. Say thank you. You know, move on. It isn't going to hurt you to hear something unless you want it to. You know, if you want it to. Those you can't. I can't help that.
Yeah.
But if you really listen, a lot of people will tell you things that you didn't even see. I mean, even though I feel like I'm accomplishing a lot, and I am with Bob Ross, I will take a Bob Ross tutorial painting, a practice painting with me in front of people, and they will go, oh, hey, look at that or that. Oh, you know, I could have done that if I would have just probably, all right, so that's why Bob was telling me to do that. Or I've even gotten people that, I've even heard people comment on how they didn't like the paintings that Bob Ross was doing. To see the video, they didn't like Bob Ross's version of it. So it's, you know, taste. Everybody feels differently about paintings, artwork. Some people call it, you know, like bad. Some people call it not art.
I noticed when people don't understand something, then they reject it. Instead of trying to understand it, it's easier to reject something and say, oh, this isn't good, than to think of what is this person trying to accomplish, what are they doing here, and then like actually try to understand. It's a lot easier just to do it. Oh, they're no good. Move on, you know.
Move on, yeah. No, everybody has a different perspective, and I think that if the communication that they're purveying doesn't fit you, just but if it does, if it interests you and you want a dialogue, I love encouraging people to talk to me. I really do. I love getting that feedback. I've learned so much from different people. I know, especially just that short month or two that I spent at Yokes, I got a lot of feedback that was really helpful. Compositionally, locally, what fits for, like, for me now, looking back, I was charging too much. If I would have dropped my prices, because I didn't understand how pricing worked, and there wasn't really a guidepost. I mean, Denny did what he could. They say, you know, this is literally, if you're looking at Spokane, though, I've found that you're looking at about 100 to 150 a canvas.
Yeah.
If you go beyond that and you receive that, which I have, kudos, good job. Celebrate those successes. Don't base everything off of that, though, because if you do, you're going to find nothing but, well, I missed the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going with what you know and what you're good at, and celebrate those huge successes that you get along the way. That's what you've got to do. That's part of that drive, though.
That's something that hit me too. Just because I didn't realize until relatively recently that I was subconsciously trying to make sure my art didn't sell by pricing it way higher than I knew that anybody would really want to pay for it. Just because like I was unwilling to want to give it up, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a piece of you, and you don't necessarily like. It's hard to just kind of give it away.
Right.
So
right.
it's like
you
I was like, okay, it is a few $100s. I don't want anybody to touch this.
Right. Yeah, bump it up a little bit, you know, bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, but now I've realized that range that you're talking about, especially for Spokane being a smaller kind of art community, it's I wouldn't call it a small city, but it's not Seattle, it's not Los Angeles.
No.
We're not mega rich.
No.
So we have to work within our demographic.
Correct.
Which, even then, that's a decent damn price, you know,
Thank
120 to 150, 150 bucks.
Okay. That's coming from a couple that we have been out lugging furniture, working warehouse jobs, cleanup crews, construction cleanup, construction security. I mean, all those odd type cleaning windows, everything like that. And you're looking at a nice, hard 8-hour day. You're going to make not that much.
Yeah.
You're going to make about 150 bucks.
Yeah.
Even a couple out there might make 200 and plus. But you're going to make about that much for a nice, hard. So I feel that compensation-wise, that definitely should fit, especially for the local area. Like you said, there's not a lot of mega rich people over here. So if you're able to celebrate with a painting or two that make it above that mark, or even if you're on a run and you get to sell several, and after time and experience in brand building and name building, much like Denny has done for his brand, you know, that didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
He was telling me he had to paint, he had to be out in public, he had to shake hands, he had to listen to people that, you know, were criticizing his work or energizing his work, either way. He had to experience all that to get where he's at, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's just part of the process. So I love it. It's a good part. You gotta love that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think it reminds me of kind of like, or something I think that artists that are like us, that are kind of like starting out, or you're already a lot more established than I am, but I'm saying people that are just kind of getting the business, getting that thing going.
Yeah.
Focus on real people.
Yes.
Focus on the real community. People that don't have as much money still need art. You know, you don't have to sell something for $30,000. That's kind of ridiculous. You need to get your art to the real people.
You never ever know who your customer is going to be. Like, let me just a real short story. Nicolette and I, we were doing some cleaning labor, and we were cleaning off some limestone. It was a pathway that had been laid by a landscaper locally, and she had gotten concrete on it. We were scrubbing with wire brushes, so we know a hard 8-hour day, right? The lady that owned the house came out, and she was talking with us, and we had told her about how Nicolette was a coder and I was a painter. And she's like, "You're a painter?" Bingo. So I sold a commission. The commission was actually of her house view to the street with her and her daughter and her son painted in, and all of her flowers and the very path that we were scrubbing down. $350.
Yeah, that's a fucking great sale right there.
That took being at the right time, the right place, but opening my mouth, getting the word out, saying, "Hi, I'm a painter," letting them know I paint, and then listening. They're going to tell you, and you're going to find out all of what they want. And if you can nail that, that's where your sale is. That's where your art is. And then that can get you to where you ultimately want to be, you know, your success, wherever that is. I'm looking forward to that.
It was awesome having you on the podcast, Simon.
Thank
We're
you.
definitely going to have to talk more not offline. Well, yeah, offline and online.
Yeah, definitely.
But on Facebook, yeah.
I know the tens of people that I've brought to your podcast will be so excited to see it. I can't wait to know how many people that you've brought. This will be exciting results. And just so you know, I'm going to be publishing this onto my TikTok, just to make sure a link for this on the TikTok. So I
will also send you the entire video, so that way you can chop it up however you want. Because I download all of the things, and I put them on YouTube as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah, I'll make sure you have the raw footage so you can do whatever you need with it.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No
Excellent.
problem.
I very much appreciate the opportunity and the exposure. I know that that is very much important, networking. Like, you are a key element to our community. Thank you for doing what you're doing. You're really bringing our community to the Spokane area.
Trying.
In general, and that's very much appreciated. That helps it. Thank you, Ezekiel.
No problem. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, definitely. Bye.
Bye.